Greetings, my citizens. Emperor Harry here has a fabulous Halloween episode for you. If you are a food history buff like me, you're wondering how the ancient Romans cooked their chicken. Wonder no more, as I've done the research for you and located a recipe from the Book of Apicus, a 1st century AD collection of Roman recipes. The book was named after a Roman gourmet named Marcus Gavius Apicus, and his name appears in the oldest cookbook. The Roman Parthians really knew how to cook a fantastic chicken, and it was called Pullum Particum, or chicken Parthian. For those of you wondering where Parthian is, the Roman Parthian province or region was once part of ancient northeast Iran in Persia. And some of the ingredients in the recipes are extinct, but no fear. Emperor Harry has scoured Mother Earth to locate some of the lost ingredients, including something very unusual and unique called the devil's dung. Yes, you heard it right. I called it a special ingredient. Are you intrigued? Are you curious? You do not want to miss this Emperor Harry's crazy, delicious, ancient Roman chicken recipe. So let me Pullum your Particum. This ancient Roman chicken recipe has conventional and some unconventional ingredients. So the salt and pepper is pretty common. The olive oil is pretty common. Some sweet red wine is pretty common. So let's move to some of the 3 interesting ingredients here. So the first one I want to talk about is a special ingredient number 1. And this ingredient is actually called sirloin or laserwort. And unfortunately, the laserwort became extinct in the 1st century. And Emperor Nero was reputed to have eaten the last sprig of laserwort or sirloin. It's really a variant of the genus Ferula, a variety of a giant fennel. So there is another plant on Earth that approximates this spice called Asafoetida. And Asafoetida is common in Middle Eastern and Indian cuisines. Asafoetida is actually a dried resin. It's like a gum, and I'll show you how it looks like here. It comes from the root of a 4-foot tall Ferula foetida herb that's part of the celery family. So this is the closest living relative to the sirloin or the laserwort that become extinct. And what is interesting is that this is used a lot in Pakistani and Indian cuisine. And I'm very happy to say that I found some in the Indian store. Now, what is interesting about this is that it's called the devil's dung. And you're probably wondering why it's called the devil's dung. That's because of how it smells. So even though I just took it out of the bag, I can even smell it from about a foot away. And the smell, it has a nauseating scent to it. Imagine a combination of some ginger that's gone bad, coupled with your gym sweaty socks that hasn't been washed for a month. So that's kind of how it smells like. It has a kind of a funk to it, right? Which I suspect gives the food a fantastic flavor, the kind of funk that you get when you have a 60-day aged steak. And I believe that that's the secret ingredient that gives this chicken this absolutely amazing, unique, very, very nuanced flavor. And the French gastronomers would have a little trick here. What they would do is they would actually put a little bit of this powder onto the base of your plate before they plate the steak on it. And that heady aroma of the devil's dung or asafoetida would basically permeate your nostrils. What is also very unique about this asafoetida is that this is the flavor that gives Worcestershire sauce that kind of unique heady aroma. In the Middle Ages, you would wear a small piece of this gum to ward off diseases, and it was also known as the food of the gods. It's also used sexually, believe it or not, and it invoked somewhat a phallic response in the human being. I have no idea if it works, but it's actually said to, in mythology, to be the product of the semen of the god of fertility as it's soaked into Mother Earth. So there you have it, much more than you ever wanted to know about devil's dung or asafoetida, but that's why you come to my channel to learn stuff like that. Special ingredient number 2 is lauvage seeds, which comes from a 7-foot tall sea parsley plant that's actually found in southern Europe. I don't have it in America, but I know it tastes like celery and it's a member of the parsley family, and it's actually a cousin with dill and fennel and coriander. So in this recipe, we'll substitute using celery seed and caraway seed, which I will grind in a mortar pestle to simulate the lauvage herb. The third item is a Roman style condiment called fish sauce or liquamen. And you probably have heard that garam or liquamen is found on the table at every dining room in Rome because it provides a great umami flavor to the foods. So the Thai and the Vietnamese were not the ones who invented fish sauce. It was actually invented by the Romans. I have some fish sauce here, which I'm going to use to substitute for liquamen. In the olden days, right, garam was made using a 5-to-1 ratio of small fish like anchovies and sardines to salt. So you have basically 1 part of salt to 5 parts of fish, and then you leave it for about a month to ferment until the meat dissolves, and you strain off the amber clear liquid. In this case, it looks like that. This is a fish sauce, very, very good one. You can buy this in Costco, and it gives a tremendous, tremendous umami flavor. So I have my chicken here. We're going to show you guys how to make the marinade. We're going to let this sit in the refrigerator overnight, let it get nice and happy with the devil's dung flavor in it, with some of the garam and some of the lauvage substitute, and we're going to cook it in the pit the next day. Let's make the marinade now that consists of salt and pepper to start. So we're going to do about 1 tablespoon of salt, half tablespoon of black pepper, finely ground 1 teaspoon of celery seed to 2 teaspoons of caraway seeds. So caraway is the same thing that you find in like rye bread that has a very strong herbal fragrance to it. And I'm going to add some of this devil's dung, the asafoetida. Probably about half teaspoon is plenty for this dish here. So yay much. I don't know how much is that. That's maybe a spigeon or something. Maybe about like maybe a little bit less than a 1/4 teaspoon or so. So, all right, that's all you need. Very, very potent and strong stuff. Great flavor. Add some wet ingredients. 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. Glass of red wine. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Taste it for saltiness. Not quite salty enough, so I'm going to add another tablespoon of salt. You want to get it always, like I told you guys, right? When you cook, you have to taste the food because you want to get the salinity to the right level. I told you guys many times, the way you calibrate salinity in any kind of brine, any kind of marinade, is you got to get the salt content balanced. The salinity or saltiness of the ocean is about 3.5%. That means that 3.5 pounds of salt in approximately 100 pounds of water. So we want to taste it until it gets to be about that ocean salinity. Okay, about there. So I use 2 tablespoons of salt to get the balance of the brine and the marinade done right. When you marinate chicken, half chickens, especially with a sharp bone, I always want to make sure that the bone is facing up inside the pouch, or in this case, a 2-gallon Ziploc bag, so that the skin sits at the bottom, so it will not puncture the plastic bag and cause the marinade to leak. So we're going to let it sit overnight in the refrigerator and cook it in about 8 hours. We're going to cook our ancient Roman chicken on the Hasty bake, which is a great pit. But before we do that, even the emperor will have to clean the pit. So I want to go show you quickly how the pit is cleaned. This one is super easy to clean because it just has a grate like this. You just kind of wipe it down. There is a little grease cup that goes in here that you empty because there is a drain groove right in the middle, like so that the oil kind of drips down on these sloping grates and then it kind of drips off. So it's a really easy to clean pit. I'll show you guys how we clean it. The door, you want to slide out the ash pan together with the fire grate, like so. This is the baffle that's used to deflect the heat. So you want to take it off and give it a clean, brush it off. Doesn't have to be very clean. This is stainless steel, so it's gonna last forever. So not to worry. Slide it back. And just remove the ash pan. Because I already covered it in foil, super easy to clean. Just dump away the ash. And as a tip, you can store the heat deflector underneath the empty space here. Put the heat deflector there, and you're all set. Alright, loading charcoal is pretty easy. You just crank the winch until the fire grate is right at the top. Drop in your charcoal. I'm going to be using Jealous Devil lump charcoal. This is like super long burning, hot Paraguayan axe wood charcoal. Our coals are lit, and let's go ahead and lower up the Hasty Bake. Go from a sear down to a smoke setting. So you wind it down, and then the mechanism goes down as low as 14 inches from the top to bottom. And let's go ahead and smoke our chicken. Try to get it to around 350 degrees. Our chicken is almost ready. We have been cooking it for a while now. And you notice how the fire is down below because I set it to smoke setting. The pit is around 275 degrees. I just want to do a quick temperature check. So we're at 165, 170 degrees. So it's about done. I'm going to check the breast now. The breast is a little bit under, so we'll let it cook a little bit longer. I want to check the bottom of the chicken, make sure that it's done. And people always ask me, is it okay to turn the chicken? Yes, you can turn the chicken to get a nice char on the back, like so. You get a nice beautiful color. Flip it over, it's hot, careful. Alright, and then we'll let it cook for another maybe 15 minutes to get the skin really nice and crispy at around 300 degrees. I'm going to raise the temperature by cranking up the winch here. So you can see here, I'm going to crank it up, and you look at the indicator, here is smoke. When I crank it, it's gonna go up to like a higher setting here. I'm gonna go all the way to about like a bake. That's gonna position it about 6 inches, well 8 inches underneath. That's enough to get the nice temperature. I want a nice char on the chicken that looks like this. So it's gonna be absolutely fabulous chicken. A little bit of Pullum, Particum coming your way. It took about an hour for the chicken to get ready. We wanted the breast around 160, the thigh around 170. Looks absolutely gorgeous. You can see how beautiful it looks here. You notice that I cook it around 325 to 350. That way I can get a nice crispy kind of skin. It smells absolutely wonderful. It's got a kind of like a wine with a little bit of a funk kind of smell, but it smells absolutely amazing. So the combination of the wine, the asafoetida, the caraway seed, and then the celery seed is just absolutely amazing. Just a great flavor. That fish sauce gives it a kind of a nice funk with the asafoetida. So let me give it a shot and see how it tastes like. Absolutely gorgeous thigh drum. You can see the breast is super moist and juicy. Let's try a piece of the breast here. Looks super moist and tender. Wow, great flavor. That fish sauce has really penetrated with a lot of umami flavor. I'm getting a hint of that funkiness from the asafoetida, and I can understand why kind of the wine and the asafoetida, which really is kind of a like a Siffion herb that is really giving it a fantastic flavor. And then the lavash, we use the celery seed together with the caraway seed. That really gives a very unique flavor. So this is how the thigh meat looks like. I'm trying not to get my Emperor Harry's robe into the chicken here. But this thigh meat looks really good. Really tasty. Between the breast meat, even though the breast meat is very moist and tender, I'm a dark meat kind of emperor, so I would think that the dark meat tastes better. I have a second bite of the dark meat. The very first time cooking a ancient Roman chicken recipe. I have to say I'm very, very pleased and very surprised. The Parthians, Romans in 1 AD, I think really knew how to cook chicken. The combination of the lavash, the siffion, together with the garam, which is the liquamen, absolutely is amazing. You guys, you know, if you want, you should try this recipe at home. Not that hard to do. You can always find caraway seed, ground celery seed. The asafoetida, you have to go to an Indian store to get, and then you can get a fish sauce in any Asian market. So enough of me talking now. Mr. Beans has been jumping on me all the time. Right, Mr. Beans? Emperor Harry is ready to feed you. Are you ready to be fed, Beans? Let's give Beans some of this Pullum Particum, an ancient Roman chicken recipe. You want to try some ancient Roman chicken, Beans? I bet you never tried this before, right? It's a little bit of funk, but that's how it is. The wine and the asafoetida was actually fantastic. All right, here we go. Excellent. You like it? Okay, let's give a piece of dark meat now. All right, here's the piece of dark meat, Beans. Is it good? A little bit funky, right? But it's really good. Imagine you are a Roman dog back in 1 AD, enjoying a feast of chicken from your Emperor Harry. Thanks for stopping by and watching my ancient Roman chicken episode. I hope I Pullum your Particum and you can try this recipe at home. Let me know if you have questions after trying my recipe. It's really a fantastic way to cook chicken. I'd like also to do a shout out for all my Patreons who help to keep the lights on my channel, keeping the content flowing for free on YouTube. Until the next video, we will see ya.